Ugh. Good Lord. Oh my God. What is this? Oh, now we can go for a drive. Before we start with this review, let's talk a little bit about the history of the Toyota Tacoma. The first generation came out in 1969, but it wasn't called the Toyota Tacoma. It was called the Toyota Hilux or Hilux for some people. It came with a 1.9-liter engine that made 84 brake horsepower. And it continued with the same name until the second generation in 1973 till 1974. Now this came out with a different engine, 2-liter, and it made more horsepower, 109 horsepower, and it used a 4-speed manual transmission. And then the third generation was called the Toyota Truck in 1975, and it continued with the same name until 1994. In 1995, Toyota decided to finally name the new Toyota Truck as the new Toyota Tacoma, and it continued with the same name till this day. And the second generation came out in 2005, and then in 2012 they decided to restyle the second generation inside and out. And then the third generation came out in 2015 with a new chassis number N300, but it didn't go to sale until September 10th, 2015. Which brings me to this over here, the new Toyota Tacoma. What we have in here, it's not the fully loaded Tacoma. This is called the TRD Off-Road. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This package and of course, what's new with the new Tacoma. This is a very, very important model for Toyota. So this is something they've been working for a while to make sure it is perfect, it is great for daily and also for off-road. Now, let's start talking about this package and then we'll go for a test drive and we'll start first with the exterior. First of all, the exterior design. One thing you realize with this thing is how beefy it is on the outside, and this package, it's actually quite impressive. Let's start with the headlights. Look at the beautiful design. These seem to be a bit more skinnier and less chrome with this package, which I really appreciate. It does have the headlights LED, but then you have the daylight running lights at the same time with the TRD Off-Road. On the side, if you look carefully, we have the wheel well, which has that nice protection. They've included, look at this, for better aerodynamic on the side here for the air to channel through, which I really, really enjoy. Moving on to the grille. The grille, it's not totally different to the outgoing model, still an aggressive look, and even the shape is very similar, but now we have the inserts over here, which are slightly different. At the bottom with this package, we have, of course, very important for off-road, fog lights. If you get the TRD Pro, the full loaded one, they have a different technology with the package. This one is slightly different. Now, overall, I have to say, they've absolutely nailed the design of the new Tacoma. I really like the shape on the outside and specifically the front end. Next thing you need to know is that with this package, we get, of course, off-road tires. In this case, we have the Trail Terrain, the BF Goodrich. These are 17-inch wheels with the TRD cap in the center. We have massive brake caliper in the front. And in terms of the tire setup, with this package, you get 265/70 for the front tires. Moving on to the side profile, the first thing you notice with this is that it still remains a Tacoma. It's not extremely different in terms of that overall design. The first thing you notice, you have the Tacoma badge located right at the bottom over here. Then moving on to the rear end over the sides, continues with that wheel well onto this area, which is of course for protection if you're going off-road. So we have the blacked out door handles, and this one is equipped with the tinted windows in the back. The next thing, moving on to the rear side. Now here's where you notice that this is the TRD off-road because it has that sticker. But one thing I absolutely love about this is how it looks in this position. Look how wide and well curved all around this thing is, which again, it gives it that muscular design for the Tacoma. It kind of looks a bit like a mini Tundra, which I think that's what the aim was with this model. Moving on to the rear end, and of course talking about the Tundra, the taillights, you have seen the same design, kind of like a crab look over here. The center part over there, we have the actual reverse light. And at the bottom over here, it actually has lights. These are for daylight running lights, and they can be used for indicating they're sequential for this package. The best towing rate for this new Tacoma, it's up to 6,500 pounds. Let's talk about the bed. The bed for 2024 is offered as a 6-foot and a 5-foot. Let's open it up, and it does have soft opening in this case, and look at that. It gives you access to the bed. On top of it, they've included this lettering here, the badge that says Tacoma. It welcomes you when you open the bed sides. As you can see, this thing is massive. It's probably one of the best sized mid-sized pickup trucks in terms of space overall, and it does have different accessories if you want to get a cover. Onto the right side over here, this is equipped with a 400 volt plug-in right onto this side, in case if you want to use it, anything that can support AC 120. Next thing is at the bottom over here, you have a bit of a compartment. You have spaces. Look at that. If you want to use this for storing toolbox or anything like that. Moving on to the left side, it's quite interesting. You have this part over here, more space, but you do get a USB port onto this side, which I think is quite nice, and that's of course the 12 volt charging. This would be a great vehicle overall if you want to take this off-road, and I think that's the whole point of this package. And most important, if you go camping, these little things that you see here, the compartment, the USB on that side, come in real handy. With this package, you also get a small window at the back, which you can open from inside. And you can adjust the lights, the bed lights that you see here, to work with the door. So in case if you want the door, when it opens, to turn on the lights for the bed, you can do that. If you want it to stay on, you can also do that. If you want to turn them off at the same time, you can. You have one at the top over here, one over here, one over here, and one onto this side. And also another thing that I noticed with this is the actual tailgate is super light. Look at this. I can actually do it with one finger. Now that we've covered everything on the outside, it's time to jump onto the inside. And let's start first with the second row. Before we jump into the second row, let me show you a few things. First thing is that you can fold this part and you get extra compartment here, which is nice. And then you can fold this part as well, which again gives you extra compartment too, which is again nice for the toolbox. That's very important. The same thing on that side. So this is a split second row. You have 60/40. And one thing I do love is this TRD badge painted in this sort of metallic blue, which I think is quite nice. Now let's jump inside. You have a door handle to this side over here, and here we go. Now in terms of space, I'm 6'2". The driver in the front will have to move the seats a little bit forward with this package because you don't get the most space for someone my height. It is a little bit spacious in terms of headroom, but leg room, it's a bit tight. As you can see, it's not probably the most comfortable I've been into. And open the window in the back, but this is only done through the switch located at the front on top side, so the kids don't play with it in case if you have kids around here. Now let's jump into the first row because that's where it gets pretty interesting. Okay, here we go. First thing you need to know is that with this package you don't get power seats. You do get the center adjustment here for the driver's side, but everything else is manually adjustable. In fact, you can do that for moving the recliner. You can raise the seats with the levers located onto the sides, and you can move this manually forward, which I think is pretty nice, but also it's quicker sometimes, right? And things won't break in a long run. Then we jump into the inside. The first thing you notice that this is not totally new. What I mean with that? Well, the design, it's not new. The car's interior is new, because this is something you've seen in the Tundra. This is the new theme that Toyota is going forward. The Tundra, the Sequoia, similar design, which I have said before, I do like it. It's very rugged-like, including the knobs, the shift knob itself, knobs that you can change the driving modes, the steering wheel, everything, the dashboard. It's very rugged. It kind of feels like a truck that you'd have, well, let's just say a Jurassic Park movie. That's the type of truck that I see in this. In fact, this one is a prototype, but it's legally for the roads. It does have a badge in there that says prototype vehicle. Let's start it up. There's a big red button with the TRD badge. You press that and you're welcomed by a digital screen for the cluster, which I think is quite nice. Now, you do get the option to get a bigger screen for the center infotainment display. With this package, you get the smaller version, which I think it still does the job just fine. It is, of course, touchscreen. It's the new infotainment. And at the top over here, we have the button to open the window in the back, which I think is quite helpful. The cluster is fully digital. It's crisp, it's sharp, it shows you a lot of information. Now, you can change a lot of the settings in there. You can go through different settings in this case. You also have different layouts with this package, which I think comes in real handy. You have a driver assistant package. You see the lines in there, and we'll go and test drive it. But in this case, those are some of the options you get in here. But if you do change the driving modes, you do get a different sort of layout, which I think is nice. In case you have sport, you have normal, and then you have eco. This steering wheel, you've seen it before, is similar to what you find with the Tundra and the Sequoia. I love this. Flat button, nice and grippy, very good for day-to-day, and if you want to take this off-road. On the right side, we have the driver assistant package with gap assist, and we're going to test this out when we take it on for a ride. But then on the left side, you got your radio and for the menu for the cluster. Beautiful overall, nice and grippy. I wish they've included a TRD badge in here, but I would assume that's probably with the TRD Pro. It is touchscreen, so it gives you a lot of information. It has the beeping noise as well. You can control everything from here. You do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You can connect your phone in here. Clearly someone already did it before me. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and so on. And it does have, well, a GPS in this case, but it's not subscribed for this model, which means I can't use it. Now, keep in mind that this is also a prototype, and it doesn't have the GPS built in. It's not going to even connect it in this case. You also get a backup camera with this package, and you have a few settings. You have this fisheye. It's really sharp, I have to say. I'm impressed with what they're offering with this package. Moving on to the center, we have the climate units. I love buttons. Buttons everywhere. Yes, please, buttons everywhere. You have these rugged finish buttons, which I kind of like. They're nice and solid, feel like they will never break. And then you have the knobs, which you can use. And again, nice and grippy. Same thing onto this side. I love buttons. And you still get a screen. You have heated seats with this package for both passenger and driver side, which I think is nice and real handy. Look at the design of this thing here. So rugged, and it kind of looks a bit like the grille of the front end of the vehicle, which I think it's a really nice touch. And you have this beautiful finish blue all the way through with the Tacoma badge for the passenger, so that the passenger knows that this is a Tacoma. In the center over here, well, this is supposed to be for the wireless charging pad. I don't believe this package has it, but you do get USB-C ports right on the side. So you get two in here, and on the side of the screen, there is another USB-C port, which I think is a nice touch. Then you can also slide two phones in there. You can charge two phones at the same time because you got two USB-C ports. On the side here of the pillar, you have a handle, which you can hold on to it when you come inside, and the same thing over here. There's another one, which I think is a nice touch overall, and it makes the entrance to the side of the passenger very easy. This model is also equipped with rubber mats. In this case, this is a Tacoma one, and you can take these out, and they're well designed overall because they fit perfectly if you look carefully, which I really like. One of the things that I love about the Toyota brand is the fact that they offer a proper shift knob on their Toyota models, like this one. I love the sound of this. Like, and then you put into sport. I love that. And you also have a TRD badge on the side of the actual shift knob, and you have a button on the left side. Moving on to the center, we have the handbrake. You have automatic handbrakes as well with this package, and you can change the drivetrain from 2-wheel high. You press this thing here. Kind of looks like an army vehicle, going to 4-wheel high and 4-wheel low. I usually keep it in 2-wheel high in this case. Then you have different driving modes with these buttons, and then you have crawl. In this case, you have tow at the same time. And then in the center here, we have the rear axle disconnect with this package. And these are supposed to be the buttons for the fully loaded model. This vehicle is actually pretty good in terms of space and compartments. Besides what we saw on the bed side, you have more space over here. You have cup holders. There's an actual armrest with some space in the center. As you can see, I have my bag in there, fits nice and comfortably. And then you have more space onto the side. Over here, you can slide for your phone. And then there is the glove box in there, which I think it's nice and handy. Overall, I love the design of this new Tacoma. They've done a great job. That blue color on the inside really gives it a different feel when you jump inside the vehicle. Now, the next thing is that how does this thing drive? What kind of engines does it offer? And of course, how much is it going to cost you in Canada and in the US? Okay, let's talk about the engine options for 2024. So there's 2 engine options available with the 2024 Tacoma. There is, of course, a 2.4 liter turbocharged double overhead cam. That one makes 278 brake horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. Similar engine also with a different trim makes 270 brake horsepower. And the next one is of course the 2.4 4-cylinder hybrid turbocharged engine, which this doesn't have. This is the gas version, the one that we have in here. And that one, of course, uses an 8-speed automatic transmission, and it makes 326 brake horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque, which it is super impressive, I have to say. Now, the good news is that the non-hybrid comes with a 6-speed manual transmission, which is amazing, and an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is the one that I'm driving today. Now, for the iForce Max, there is no manual transmission option, only the 8-speed automatic transmission. The front suspension system uses an independent double wishbone front shocks with stabilizer bar and twin-tube shock absorber. The vehicle is also equipped with electronic power steering and power assistant rack and pinion. Now let's talk about the price. How much you're going to pay for the new Tacoma? You have the base model, which is the SR5, and that one starts at about $46,000 Canadian, which would be under 40,000 USD. Then you have the TRD off-road with a 6-foot bed that starts at about $50,000 Canadian, which would be about around $40,000 US. Then you have the TRD Sport, which is again a 6-foot bed size that starts at about $50,000, about $600 less than the TRD Sport. Then you have the TRD Off-Road, which is the one that we are driving today, which starts at about $54,000 Canadian, which would be about $46,000, $45,000 USD. The pricing conversion should be on the screen. Then you have the TRD Sport Premium, which starts at $58,000 Canadian. The next one is the TRD Off-Road Premium, which starts at $58,000, and it's a 5-foot bed. There's also a TRD Off-Road 6-speed manual transmission with a 5-foot bed that it starts at $48,000. That one is $10,000 as a trim less than the TRD Off-Road Premium. The last one is the TRD Sports with the 6-speed manual transmission 5-foot bed that starts at $52,000. Now, price-wise, what are we looking in terms of competition? Well, the new Ranger is out. In fact, I'm probably the only one in Canada that has driven the new Ranger Raptor, and I did drive it in Ireland, and I also drove the base model of the Ranger. One thing I did like about the Ranger was mostly the interior felt a bit more spacious than this. But in comparison, the driving experience overall, it's about the same. Now, how does this thing feel in comparison to the outgoing model? Well, luckily I drove that old model at this point, called old model, not too long ago. And here's what I think. This has a better ride. It feels more comfortable. It also feels well isolated on the inside. The cabin noise is actually much better in this one. In fact, you don't hear it as much. And today was probably the best day to test that out because it was extremely windy on the outside. You probably saw as I was talking. Engine-wise, well, Toyota, of course, says that this one is new. It performs better. It is faster. And you know what? It does feel faster. You put your foot down, it really pulls, and it can go pretty quickly. Like in sport mode transmission, in sport driving right now, in two-wheel high, and you feel that engine pulling. It's impressive what they can achieve with that four-cylinder turbocharged engine, which again makes about 270, 278 horsepower. Now that depends on the trim. I think they've done a great job overall with the exterior design and interior design. They're offering quite a lot of tech features with this new model, and it was time for Toyota to bring something new because the Tacoma has been in the market for quite a while now, and it needed a new generation badly. This is one of the most important models for them, and I think this is the perfect time. Now, having said that, a few things that I'm kind of disappointed about is the fact that this one right now doesn't have a heads-up display. I think there would have been a massive upgrades, and with this package it would have been nice if they had offered, well, a 360 camera because it is an off-road, and I think that would really come in handy for a lot of these people that take these cars off-road. Other than that, the digital cluster, the heated seats in the front, the USB ports all around really make this a fantastic package. Even the pricing is impressive, and let's not forget about the reliability of Toyota overall. The Tacomas are known to be quite possibly one of the best mid-size pickup trucks at this point. They sell very well, and they sell across the world, not just in Canada and United States. In fact, in Australia they call the Hilux, which I've actually seen one in person before. Now, I think this model is going to do really well for them, and the fact that now we have different engines and they're still offering a 6-speed manual transmission, that is probably one of the best things about the new Tacoma, that they maintain that, because I think a lot of people buy the manual transmission, and offering that even now, that is a huge deal breaker for some buyers. So, and it also competes well with the rest of the mid-size pickup trucks. As I'm driving right now, people are staring on the roads. They're slowing down to look at this thing because as of today, it's essentially the only one in this province, the only one available, and I'm the one that's driving, which again, kind of feels special a little bit.